John D. Villarreal joined on the phone actually over here by Paul at Villarreal. What a night, what a week. It's unbelievable. Like it's nonstop. We are in election season. Can you feel it? We're about 3 weeks away, just over 3 weeks away now from election 2024. However, some of this, like, I guess, we've got some states with that are going to start doing the early voting. Maybe some already have. A lot going on. And I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. I mean, this thing is coming. It's unfolding as we talked about, as we thought about. We're going to join. Paul's going to come in here and talk about some of the polls, some of the updated stuff. There's some people out there, releasing polls, and we're getting even the media now. We're starting to see that shift, okay? Because I'm not alleging anything, but sometimes some polls can kind of get a little out there in the summer, but as we get closer to the election, you're seeing a convergence with more reality because they don't want to see, if you're a pollster out there, you don't want to see that discrepancy on real clear politics in terms of, hey, this person called, Virginia for 10 points for Harris and it actually went to Trump, or it was only 1 point Harris. You want to have that accuracy as you get close to the election here and you make your final predictions. And I mean, it's so funny. Where's the dude with the keys? Where's Professor Lichtman with all the keys? How are the keys working these days? Are the keys working? Are the keys broken? Okay. But the point of it is this. What did I tell you? And David Sachs has picked up on this too. He called it a doom loop. We may have talked about that. Paul's used that phraseology before, but I said that after the debate, the reason why, and you can go look at it, it's up there. We've got the receipts. The reason why, and I've been talking about longer than that. The reason why I felt like Kamala Harris, again, Coach Dennis Green, late great Coach Dennis Green, she is who we thought she was, right? A year before, 6 months ago, you didn't see a lot of people in the Democratic Party like, oh, we need Kamala. And here's the thing, I'll leave you. I'm sort of jumping around, but it's just the way my mind works sometimes. And this, because I want to make this point, because I think it makes all the points. You see now that a lot of people, and you saw this, I think, from, I want to say Andrea Mitchell was saying there may be some misogyny with men. And I don't want to get too much into this stuff. And then you have President Obama out there, and there's just getting blowback from, chastising African-American men for, starting to peel away from, there's a gender gap. There's a huge gender gap in this election. And I don't want to get too much into that. And again, we're peace, freedom, love, opportunity for our equality, for everybody. We're all for everybody and everything like that. However, sorry. Full stop, different statement. Here's what I want to pose to because I see, my friends, Amy Siskine out there, other people on Facebook and X and stuff like that. And some people are super important. And you're seeing this push to make this identity, on the left, the identity politics, like, when and even Colbert's like, I noticed it, like Kamala Harris, I'm not being super clear here, but I'm going to make the point. Vice President Harris was sitting down with Stephen Colbert, and he's like, well, how are you different from the President Obama? Well, President Biden. I'm not President Biden. Okay. So what are you saying? Like, we all know what you're saying. Like, just stop. Like, and Colbert's like, well, I can see that. Like, okay, how is your gender or, anything else? How is that a qualification, pro or con, for being a president? Like, this is just silliness, dude. We're in 2024. Can we get past that? Can we get, this whole administration's been like the first and the historic, and Karine Jean-Pierre, who a lot of people think is a really not great at a pretty impressive. There was a lot of it. We talked about that before, how they were trying to push her out, and I'm historic and I'm making history. Oh my God, you're a spokesperson. That's cool. Like, I'm not like, if you said that once, but it's constant. It's this constant thing. Like that by itself is not, at some point, like, nobody cares who the pilot is. They just want to get to their destination safely. Does that make sense? Okay, so I don't want to get too harped into this. This is not going to be we're going to focus on the election. We're going to keep this tight, but I had to lay that groundwork to say this, because I don't know that anyone else has said this yet, and I'm sure there has, but I haven't seen it. But it's a simple point to rebut all this stuff. And it also goes back to what I said about, Kamala Harris being the team that we thought she was in terms of the candidate. I mean, because they're trying to the change candidate, and like JD Vance said, she's already in there. How's she the change candidate? She's already in there. Can anybody on the Democrat side, not even Republican, the Democrat side, can anyone on the Democrat side, because Nikki Haley was trying this type of stuff on the Republican side and got punked out by Vivek Ramaswamy, and I appreciate Vivek for doing that and stuff like that. Like, dude, we don't want to hear this. Like, oh, you're so tough, but you can't criticize me. Does anybody on the Democratic side believe that Kamala Harris was not just the best candidate, but was the best female candidate that on the Democrat side that could have run? Do you think she's a better candidate than Secretary Clinton? Do you think she's a better candidate than even Gretchen Whitmer, who did some crazy stuff that we're going to talk about, this week? I mean, there's so many people. Do you think she was better than Susan Rice? I mean, I can go on. Do you think she's better than Hochul? I can go on down the list, players. So when you put this out there, like, if you don't vote for, like, basically, trying to shame people, if you don't vote for Kamala Harris, you're a misogynist, you're this and that, whatever. She's not even the best candidate on the Democratic side. She's not even in the top 3. But because of what happened in the hot swap and the coup and all this type of stuff, she's gotten 0 votes in this primary. They made her the candidate. So you get the, be careful what you wish for. You're lying in the bed that you made, dude. So, I mean, we haven't talked about this, Paul, and I want to put you on the spot, but listen, I'm too far afield, and listen, I may make mistakes in the live show, and I reserve the right to revise and extend, and I apologize if I make any mistakes, I mean, like that. I'm just trying to speak plainly. This idea, it's the same thing that they do with the Star Wars stuff. And I don't want to get swerved into too much of that, but I'll just make this point real quick, and I'll bring Paul in. You're like, oh, if you don't like the Acolyte, and you're just prejudiced and this and that, whatever. Okay, dude. They made the Star Wars. I was in the line. They made the Star Wars in the 70s. Guess who the coolest characters were, dude? Lando Calrissian, Darth Vader, voiced by James Earl Jones, Princess Leia. I remember going to school. People had Princess Leia buns, dude. No one's against any, like, dude, we just want to see some quality. We're in a serious situation right now. People want leadership. Kamala Harris is not even close to the best Democrat candidate. That's the point. Why do you think they didn't want to do an open convention? Do you think Kamala Harris would have been selected in an open convention? I don't know, dude. The Democrats are doing some crazy stuff. Paul, do you understand what I'm saying? Am I off in left field here? What's your take on this?
Look, I think that the truth is that there are a lot of Democrats who did not want Kamala Harris. And basically, for the insider information that I have heard is that basically it was a power play by Kamala Harris and her team to make it so she had to be picked. Because, Rich Barris is talking about this on his podcast on Friday, essentially saying that Barack Obama didn't want Kamala Harris. So there are Democrats who didn't want this. And now we're seeing why that is. And look, the stuff that's coming out right now is this. Jason Miller, senior advisor for the Trump team, basically said, look, what's happening now, what we're being told is that the old Obama hands are about to take over the campaign. Right. In other words, the Harris loyalists have essentially failed. I think most people realize or believe that by now with their media tour, which seemed to only bury her numbers further. And now they're kind of handing over the reins. Problem with that is it's too late.
It's too late.
So I think there are plenty of people who did not want this, but in the same way that it seemed like Kamala Harris and her team outmaneuvered people for her to be picked as the VP. And one of the people that I think she outmaneuvered was Susan Rice, who you brought up. That looked like it happened again. So you give Kamala Harris credit for being able to secure the spot twice. Unfortunately, she might take down the ship of the entire Democrat ship with her. And that's what it looks like it's setting up right now. You mentioned Barack Obama. Of course, he came out, tried to rally the troops. That was a massive backfire in a way that I didn't even think it was going to be that big of a backfire, but that's what it ended up being.
Wow.
It became so bad that the New York Times wrote about, hey, yeah, this didn't work. You need to back off a little bit. So right now it's a scramble. It's a mad dash. And I think we're a step or two away from the Democratic Congress people saying, we got to protect ourselves, and they're cutting loose the ship of the presidential race. I think we're getting close to that.
Yeah, and I'm not saying at this point in time that like someone like Nancy Pelosi would be up for this, something like that. But you've got, what about Jennifer Granholm? What about Senator Warren? I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Like there's so many, women on the Democrat side that could, and you picked Kamala Harris. Or she picked herself. I do applaud the, efficiency of her political moves, if you will, in that. But what I'm saying is, here's what I'm trying to say. It's a little bit long-winded way to say it. It's that this is no surprise. You're talking about someone that in some ways, listen, way more popular and famous than me and rich and everything like that. Okay, fine. But in essence, has never had, from what I understand, from her professional life, from law school on, I don't know that she's had a private sector job. Has kind of, some people have said, in my opinion, maybe failed upwards. Hasn't really won a lot of major elections. Was appointed senator from California, and then and obviously was selected to be vice president, and didn't win the primary, and this one didn't do so good in the presidential primary before. And has come from a very blue state. And also, the rumors reporting, if you will, I'm not alleging anything, was that tremendous amounts of turnover in her staff. Harmeet Dillon was on Tucker Carlson talking about stuff. I may be able to pull that up here. Excuse me, somewhere. Let's see if I can find that on my LinkedIn. Sorry, not LinkedIn. On my Twitter. There's just a lot of stuff going on, Let me see if I can find Harmeet saying something here. And then just going back with Tammy Bruce, and okay, so let's see here. I'll have to find that later. But anyway, and yeah, here we go. Yeah, so there's just different things going on right there. And we're at a point now. Let's set the table here real quick. So I that's a little bit of a swerve, but I think I like to look at the fundamentals. Because it's easy to get caught in the weeds and the horse race and this type of stuff. I like to look at the fundamentals. And the fundamentals are, and as it's playing out, is Kamala Harris is not a good candidate. She's not run a good campaign. This whole hot swap situation is a new deal and is, that's never happened really before in my lifetime. And how are people going to, there seems to be tension between Biden and Harris. That's sort of spilled over, that, in my opinion, that sort of spilled over this week. We're going to get into some of that type of stuff. And you've got Trump, that's a really good closer. And you have right track, wrong track. That right there in the economy. The economy, people feel like it's bad and people feel like we're on the wrong track. I think only 28% or something like that feel like it's on the right track. Those are abysmal numbers. So Harris is trying to change, position herself as a change candidate, and that's not really working. It was kind of working a little bit, and now it's like starting to lose that argument. But fundamentally, and Portnoy was saying this and others, how do you put that out there? And so what I'm trying to do is level set as far as look, she's not a good candidate. She's nowhere close to the best candidate on the Democrat side. People are not happy with the economy. People remember how good the Trump economy was. We've had a lot of crazy stuff happen in Butler and other places, like that. Maybe something in Coachella now. And people are like, no, we don't want to deal with it. Meanwhile, we have Tim Walz and other people on the left, Atlantic. I think people are saying that maybe there's a problem with free speech and the First Amendment. What? And yet you have Elon Musk out there launching rocket ships. We're going to talk about that and stuff like that. So I think it's a very clear choice in this election. With that, I've been going on for a while here. I want to bring in Paul and give him some time because he's really steeped in this, big on X out there, and he talks to a lot of the big players out there. Paul, tell us, where are we at right now with the polls, national and swing states? I know Mark Halpin's been out there with some good reporting on two-way. You also have Rich Barris, the pollster, Mark from Rasmussen, others. You know, you're in a swing state of Pennsylvania. What are we dealing with? What's the state of play right now?
State of play is that the early voting does not look good for the Democrats, particularly for Kamala Harris. The only state that might be reasonable for her in terms of the battleground states and the early voting is Michigan, which I think is looking okay for her. Not great, but okay. North Carolina and Georgia, so far in terms of absentee balloting, does not look good at all. Pennsylvania structurally is not set up well for her. I think where we're at right now is that this upcoming week is going to be a make or break situation for her in the states of Georgia and North Carolina, which are essential for her path. And that's because both of them are going to initiate their in-person early voting. And so she needs to get solid, good, strong numbers in both of those states. If she does not get them, because usually you get the most turnout at the beginning of the process, if that doesn't happen, and you're probably looking at those two states being taken off the board for her if she doesn't get that, then for Trump, the only states that Trump needs are North Carolina, Georgia, and Pennsylvania. So Pennsylvania right now is not setting up well for her. It is setting up in the sense that she is going to need a very large election day turnout in order to be able to have any chance at all. Not saying it's impossible. It could happen. I mean, for example, Fetterman got significantly more election day turnout than Biden did in 2020. So certainly COVID was at play, but I'm not sensing the enthusiasm for her here. And what I can tell you personally is that I haven't seen any door knockers around. And in 2022 at this time, I'd already seen door knockers in my neighborhood. And I'm talking about Democrat door knockers in particular. That's also not a good sign for her. So that's what I think we're coming at right now. I mean, I saw somebody today go by the name of, I don't know who they are, but their handle on Twitter is Latinx adjacent something, whatever. That's literally their name. Anyway, what he said is like, look, this could be effectively over in the next 10 days. Meaning what I said about the in-person early voting. You're going to get a massive number of votes coming in key states within the next week to 10 days. If those things come in a fashion that is not enough for her, because we know Republicans are going to outperform Democrats on election day, those numbers aren't there, it's going to be extremely difficult for her going from there. And in fact, the person actually said, if she doesn't get the numbers that she needs, she might as well drop out, essentially, which of course is not going to happen, but functionally that's what they're saying is what they should happen. So that's where we're at. We're coming down to the nitty gritty, even though we're not at election day yet, but because of how the process is now, everything happens early.
Yeah, it does. And I'm going to go back with you later, and we're going to cap off state by state, but and maybe do our own election map and stuff like that. And we can probably pull one of those up on, I can't remember, Race to 270. I think there's one of those, and RCP, I think, has a way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So we can do that. But what I'm doing here is I'm highlighting, if you see the screen here, Harmeet Dillon, and full disclosure, I mean, again, I know Harmeet from a long time ago. And I wouldn't say we're friends, but we're friendly and stuff. And we kind of came up together in the California GOP politics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
She's done a lot of stuff out there. And she's a lawyer in California. I'm a lawyer in California, not licensed in Florida, not practicing, blah, 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 all that type of stuff. And she's, did a little talking. That's pretty much, it's more arm's length, stuff like that, but definitely a lot of respect for Harmeet. And so I just want to throw that out there. Okay. I'll just leave it at that. So anyway, so Harmeet's doing some stuff and anyway, I'll leave it at that. She's been very effective. She's been a big advocate on our side. She's definitely champion for free speech. She's definitely a champion for constitutional law stuff. She's definitely taken up some stuff. I can't remember. She's done some stuff with Judicial Watch, but she, her and her law firm have really done some stuff. Absolutely. And but also the thing with Harmeet too is, Harmeet and I think she is friendly with Laura Ingraham, I believe. Laura Ingraham went to University of Virginia Law School, great law school. So anyway, Harmeet's out there doing some stuff. So Harmeet,
can I just say one thing?
Yeah, sure.
Harmeet has been named as the lead counsel for voting issues in Arizona.
Yes.
That just happened a few days ago.
Yes.
That's big.
Congratulations,
That's
Harmeet,
key.
for that. That's what I was going to say and I don't know her whole biography and stuff, and I'll probably try to find that, and I do apologize, Harmeet. But I can just tell you someone that, just in terms of the reputation and at least from what I remember and stuff like that, I mean, someone that has major connections that comes at this.
Oh, yeah.
With serious, University of Virginia Law School. I knew it. And then Dartmouth, of course. So that's where her and Ingram, and I thought I knew that about her.
Yeah.
I went to Berkeley. So someone, Harmeet has tremendous amounts of credibility. Okay. And stuff. So she comes at it from that perspective.
Harmeet's law firm is in San Francisco.
Correct.
So of course she's in that circle where you are.
Yep. So I just want to put that out there. Okay. So, and, Harmeet speaks for herself, has a huge amount of followers, almost 1 million followers on X and stuff like that. I mean, I speak for myself, but I just want to put that out. Okay. So Harmeet's saying something here about, that she knows stuff about Kamala Harris. And I believe she was on Tucker Carlson and talking about that.
Yeah.
And I haven't had time to see that yet. There's been a lot of stuff going on, and we've been dealing with the hurricane here, and our family was sick and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff going on. But she's all over this and talking about different things. And again, you were finding you couldn't. The Democrats really had like a 30-day campaign, Paul, plan for Harris. Yep. And really there's nothing else after that. At some point you have to, they try to run the basement campaign. That's not really working. And people like Harmeet and others are stepping up and talking. Now, what's interesting, and you talked about this, I don't want to steal your thunder. I'll let you have the floor again here. I want to get to some other, we're going to put some other stuff up here with what's going on with Tesla and all kinds of different things, because Musk has been a big player and he was at Butler and did some huge, we're going to talk about that. But what you're seeing now is you're not seeing a lot of Democratic politicians that are appearing with Kamala Harris on the road. I don't say different some reporting, but you were talking about that. Yeah. You've seen some reporting out there. What are you hearing?
Yeah, so what I heard was that there's a couple of people who, one was a guy who goes by the handle of Election Wizard. I don't know him. I mean, we follow each other. I don't know who he is, but what he said today was that he is being told that Democratic are beginning to tell their clients, you know what, it might be time to start pulling away from Harris. In other words, it's time to not associate with Harris because it looks like she's going down and we don't want to be tied to her. There's already been rumblings that people, in fact, I think this has played itself out on the public stage, where Senate candidates like Ruben Gallego, I cannot remember the woman's name in Wisconsin, and Bob Casey are not doing events with Kamala Harris. In other words, so there's already a feeling in some of those key states in the Rust Belt, in these swing states, that, maybe we don't want to be too close with her. And I know that Ruben Gallego is apparently afraid to say anything negative about Trump because they know Trump is looking good in Arizona. So apparently Gallego said nothing about Trump during their recent debate, in which Kari Lake really did well against him. Yes, so that is starting to happen. Rich Bears, the pollster, who has a lot of contacts, called that out on his Friday podcast, saying, look, if it wasn't for this Wall Street Journal poll that just came out that looked a little bit better for her, we were about to start getting into what I said earlier, which is people are going to start saying it's time to save the House and the Senate to the extent that we can, and bye-bye Kamala Harris. I don't think we're quite there yet.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
That's where we're getting to, and that could happen soon. And basically what I said, what Election Wizard was saying is consultants are already starting to say it.
Yes, I'm going to play this clip here from JD Vance has put up on his ex, Martha Raddatz. They got into it. But before I do that, I do see something here. And then I want to play here. And I'm just learning X, so Paul knows more than me, but I want to give some thanks and some shout outs to some people here. What we're seeing right now on X, this is now I'm live on X. We are live on X. We want to give a shout out to Naomi Jackins, excuse me, Damian Ranger, and Julie, who have reposted the post. Also, we've got some people following us here, and we've got some people here, EDF and Riley, Anna, that have interacted with the post here. I think it's showing over here 160. I don't know if 160 people are viewing right now on X. My brother Paul has a huge, a very big, YouTube channel. No doubt about it. Paul is definitely big on X. You're up to what, 22,000, 21,200? Where are you up to now?
22,000.
22,000 people on X. So we definitely want to thank people on that one. We definitely want to thank the people for supporting us on that. Now, what I'm going to do, and I also want to thank, I've seen over here on YouTube, we've got, a number of people watching on YouTube live right now, and we definitely appreciate that. So no doubt about it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play over here. JD Vance was on the Sunday shows, and he's been putting out there and saying, and we're going to talk about that strategy here in a second. I know you know about that, Paul. And he was on with Martha Raddatz. We've also got some clips that we may play of Speaker Johnson, who got into it with Kristen Welker from Meet the Press. And that was very interesting. But this right here, I think, was very an interesting exchange. And I'll stop it to talk about it, times, and we won't play the whole thing, but this is a minute 24 clip here. We'll play some of it and talk about it. You'll get the gist of it. Yeah. First of all, here we go right here with Raddatz setting up the question.
The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment conflicts.
Wait, hold on. I don't know if that's playing. Let me make sure it's playing, but I don't know.
Let me hear that.
Yeah. Let me reset that again. Let me set up my speakers right here. I do apologize for that. Let me set up everything right here in terms of the sound. Okay, so let's go. I think this will work. We're going to try this again. Stay tuned. Stand by. Let's rekey this. Let's try this again.
The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
Okay, so basically, so Martha Raddatz, first of all, there's been lots of videos out there on X and other stuff like that of people, talking about stuff. And now Raddatz said, hey, I've talked to people. It's just a handful. Okay. And then, so now you're going to have, go ahead, Paul.
This is Aurora, Colorado she's talking about.
Aurora, Colorado, about some of the gangs and some different things like that. Some of the crime situations out there. And then let's see what Vance has to say about that.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border. Americans are so fed up with what's going on, and they have every right to be. And I really find this exchange, Martha, sort of interesting because you seem to be more focused with nitpicking everything that Donald Trump.
Now, let me just say this real quick. Let me stop this right here. Can you see? I've said it before, but I think the latest U.S. News World Report, you've got Stanford and Yale tied for number one in law schools. But for the longest time that I've been, an adult, you've had Yale that's been number one. I mean, JD Vance, and I actually did see this weekend with my wife and child, Hillbilly Elegy, the movie. Man, that is JD, and I don't want to get swerved into that, but I mean, it brings back memories. Like Paul and I grew up not too far from there. The whole Appalachian thing, we know people like that. Like, I mean, I'm not saying like we grew up like that, but we didn't grow up too far. That movie brought up some memories, okay? And I mean, now our mom, our parents, very, very, very different situation. We love our mom and dad and everything like that. But we knew a lot of people that were going through a lot of stuff like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And the housing situations and the poverty and just your the big event of the week is maybe going to the local the candy store or the whatever. in tears or whatever it
Or
might be.
the dance,
The
the VFA, the dance at the VFA hall.
Right. Something like that. Exactly. You know, the roller skate rinks or whatever like that. When she
Yeah.
mom pulled out the roller skates, I'm like, yeah, that was like the big thing. And so, and you know, but you're people that just want to work hard and trying to do the best they can, stuff like that. So you're talking about a prodigy. I mean, just great, well-written movie, and you can see why he was a best-selling author. This dude is so quick. He's next level, and they keep trying to spar with him. Raditz is going to get him. Like, you know, you're not, dude. I mean, it's just like, and she's all set up, ready to go, loaded for bear and stuff like that. It's just not working out. Anyway, let's play the rest of let's finish off the clip here, and we'll have some comments. I'll get what Paul have to say about that as well. Here we go.
Has said, rather than acknowledging that apartment complexes in the United States of America are being taken over by violent gangs. I worry so much more about that problem than anything else here. We've got to get American communities in a safe space again. And unfortunately, when you let people in by the millions, most of whom are unvetted, most of whom you don't know who they really are.
Okay, let's time out. Let's talk about this for a second again, and I have to take certain breaks. But I want to, what he's saying right here is, first of all, America's the land of immigrants. You know, my grandparents, everybody here is an immigrant. Even if you came over the land bridge, stuff like that, the natives, I mean, the Vikings, Columbus, whatever it is, Mayflower, I don't care, right? And my grandparents on my dad's side came from Monterrey, Mexico. They came over legally. When my mom sent us a bunch of stuff, we got like a lot. I saw the papers from my granddad and Abuelita and everything. That was pretty cool. But the point is that when you have millions and millions and millions, and you have a border that's this porous, like, you have no control. You don't know what's going to happen. You have major disruption. Plus, I mean, as the crime statistics came out, I think I don't know, I can't remember who was the FBI or someone about that. There's a lot of criminals in here. And I think in another clip, JD Vance was talking to someone, maybe the New York Times reporter. He's like, she's like, are you really going to deport people? He's like, yeah, we're going to start with the criminals. I mean, it's like if people are currently committing crimes in the U.S., that may not be the worst place to start in terms of this. And you just can't push it all into the communities, many of which have no capability of dealing with this. Paul, do you have any comments? We have 20 seconds left in this clip. Do you want to comment now, or you want me to play the rest of this clip?
Just play the clip.
Okay, we're almost done here.
You're going to have problems like this. Kamala Harris, 94 executive orders that undid Donald Trump's successful border policies. We knew this stuff would happen. They bragged about opening the border, and now we have the consequences, and we're living with it. We can do so much better, but frankly, we're not going to do better, Martha, unless Donald Trump calls this stuff out. I'm glad that he did.
Dude, I mean, what's so great again about Vance is totally on point. You can tell he's a good soldier. Like, he will never say anything that's going to punk Trump. He's so fast on it. Obviously, he's his own person. He's like, yeah, I used to criticize Trump, but I learned different things. I learned so much about him. Like, I mean, he's really is such a big asset, and it's one of these reasons why I and other people really were.
You were.
We're saying, like, hey, you know, Vance is the one to choose. I've gotten, I don't have a control over some of this stuff, but we have someone here that's, I'm not gonna, that Trump has lost the election. Listen, I mean, there's Democrats out there. This is a close situation. Like, this is a divided country. This is a close election, no doubt about it. And obviously the election hasn't happened now. I'm saying the election's held right now, right today. And we're going to go through the map here later. We're at 30-minute mark. This may go a little bit longer than I wanted to. We're going to try to contain it here. But there's just been so much news that's happened this week. And we have people that are staying with us, and I really appreciate that. Democrats want to chime in. We'll keep the language clean, keep everything legit, but we'll let you have your say. That's not a problem. That's no problem. Paul, your comments on Vance and this clip.
Look, he crushed it today on both the shows he was on. He was on ABC This Week, and he was on Fox News Sunday. Raditz nothing against Raditz, but that's a mismatch. And so she was all loaded up and ready to come at him. And as you saw in that clip, and it just didn't work. He was able to easily turn around on her, make the point, just, go from defense to offense and easily win. He is extremely good at this. He's gotten even better. They kept him away from the Sunday shows for 3 weeks, kind of cooled it off a little bit, brought him back out today, and he did amazing. And so did Trump, who was on with Maria Bartiromo. Now, Bartiromo is a much more serious interviewer than some of these other people are, but they both did a really good job. Vance is a massive asset. He's a huge upgrade over
asset.
Pence. And, Vance is winning over a lot of people who I think were on the fence because they realized the potential in him.
Oh my gosh.
And it was on display it was on display today.
He's so great, and the family story and everything like that. And that's the thing about the hillbilly elegy that, you know, just shows his wife to be just such a rock solid superstar. I mean, just unbelievable and stuff like that. I think my wife was a rock solid superstar. I mean, I think she's like, oh wow, you know, it's like absolutely no doubt about. And my wife is amazing. Don't get me wrong, I love my wife. Here we go. This is Vance. He's just put this on his stuff. I'm sure this is with Lulu, the New York Times reporter here. 43-second clip. I'll stop it in the middle here and give us a comment. Let's hear from Vice President nominee J.D. Vance, Senator Vance from Ohio.
President Trump, I really think this is necessary. You have to deport a large number of people. There are way too many illegal aliens in this country. You have to reestablish some deterrence and law enforcement for people coming here illegally. I think it's certainly reasonable to deport around 1 million people per year in the United States of America. Now, of course, we have 25 million. So that would take.
You can see her like, I mean, I can't, you know, listen, I'm not in anyone else's head. You can't really see, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she's a little surprised by that answer, because before it was like, are you really going to deport people? And he's like, yeah, we're going to do that. So you can see how he's working through this answer right now. We got about 20 seconds left of this. But I mean, you know, this is what I love about JD Vance is anything you get, it's like Elon Musk. Now, Elon Musk sometimes, to his credit, sometimes will, because, you know, I probably should do this a little bit more too. And I've done this before, but I mean, Elon definitely does it. I noticed, but I really love the way Elon does it. It's different styles, right? Vivek is, you know, lightning fast. Vance is very fast. I can be very lightning fast. It depends, but I can also take a pause. And sometimes it's better. What I do appreciate about Elon is Elon will like take a beat or two, think about it, and then come up with something. And Elon's on next level. We're talking about SpaceX. We're going to show you some different stuff. Elon's put some stuff up. It's unbelievable what he's done with all stuff. And along with the Optimus robot and everything like that, and he's big time supporting Trump out there. Trump is, I think Elon's saying he's going to maybe barnstorm and stump for Trump. Trump's saying he's not stopping, you know, but here with Vance is you're talking about someone that is just so, you know, facile and so just quick with the replies to some of the very difficult questions out there. And I mean, I think that's what people want. I say this is the Atlas Shrugged election where people want leadership. Okay, where people are just standing up like enough of this stuff. We'll talk about the Obama thing here probably in a second here. Go ahead. So we're going to continue here, closing out with Senator Vance.
Take a long time, 25 years, if my math is correct. But again, I don't think that you have to deport everybody, because if you reestablish some semblance of a reasonable border policy, a lot of those people are going to go home willingly. If you make it harder for American companies to undercut the way.
I think that's the Mitt Romney. I can't remember who or the self-deport thing and stuff like that and stuff. Well, I mean, and listen, you have a situation now where I don't know. Again, I'm not alleged anything, but there's some number where some people are getting flown in and allegedly getting some money and look, if you can go, so if someone told me, if I wasn't living in America, like wherever, I don't know, I was living wherever I'm living. I'm not, I want to name, you know, Planet X, country X, doesn't matter. Hey, John, you can go to Australia, you can go to Aruba, you can get like 2 years of free stuff, whatever like that. If I had nothing else going on, I mean, you know, people, you could see where people might do that. And we're in a situation now where it's like, you know, Americans are hurting, especially Paul, and I'll bring you in on this. We have 5 seconds. I'll finish the clip. As soon as I finish the clip, countervailing that with the relief effort for the hurricanes. And people really were saying a lot about that. So here, let me finish out with Senator Vance and I'll bring you in on that.
Wages of American workers by hiring illegal labor. A lot of those folks are going to go home. President Trump and I really.
Okay. So Paul, I think that notion, what Vance was saying right there, combined with what happened with this hurricane relief stuff, there's been a lot of criticisms about it particularly in vis-a-vis North Carolina and maybe even Georgia, but certainly North Carolina in the Appalachia country. Now here in Florida, we got hit hard by Milton, and unfortunately, some people I think lost their lives. We're near where a lot of tornadoes touch down, but you have Governor DeSantis that has had very strong aggressive actions, been out there, pre-position stuff, had linemen ready and stuff. So a different level of response. Do you think that how do you think this issue is playing in terms of the hurricane response and the immigration issue? And what do you think of what Senator Vance, vice presidential candidate Vance, said right there?
Yeah, look, I think he made a good point there. I think he's right. I think that's true. And of course, it will send a signal to people who are thinking about coming in too, that's not maybe necessarily the best thing to do, because you could end up going home yourself. As far as the hurricane response, first I'll say the hurricane versus immigration. Yes, of course, that's being brought up. The left and the media is trying to refute that, saying, no, the money that was supposed to go for response didn't go to immigrants. Well, maybe it did, maybe it didn't. Maybe it's still out of two different pots, but it's really one big pot of money that's there. So is it really a differential? As far as the hurricane response, there's two aspects to that. One, there's the critique that things have not been done well and that they weren't handled particularly in an adequate fashion from the federal government. I think a lot of people feel that way. Then there's the aspect of it where, hey, maybe that this is going to affect the Trump voters in Western North Carolina. And we've actually seen Democrats almost, I wouldn't say they're happy about it, but kind of, playing to that angle of it. So it's a very real thing. It's affected greatly two important states, Georgia and North Carolina. So it's something that I know that the GOP is concerned, and they want to make sure that the people of Western North Carolina are able to vote. And so that's an ongoing process.
Well, and look, and we want to be very careful. We do not in any way want to politicize the natural disaster or anything like that. However, as Paul, separate point, as Paul said, I believe there's some senior Democrats, we can pull up the clips here, that we're talking specifically about, maybe, this could affect Trump voters, that, the Asheville and some of the Democrat places will show up, but maybe, and that's really crazy, and I think that a lot of people were not happy with the $750 response from the government and stuff like that. And again, listen, I'm not a disaster expert or anything like that. I've lived through a number of hurricanes here in Florida and in Texas. Our hearts and prayers and thoughts and prayers go out to anyone affected by it here in Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, a lot of other places too. And this is a time where, Americans have to come together. And I think that it's really a kind of, and people have said this about, some of the, money going to different wars and stuff like people, it's just, I be careful what I say. I was having a conversation with my wife and stuff like that. We were going to shop, and we love Costco, like unbelievably, like a lot of people. And of course you go in there, like it's just impossible to walk into Costco and not, for me anyway, it's very, very hard with our family to walk into Costco and walk out with less than $100. You just got to really try. And that number's been sort of increasing because we sort of live a little bit farther away from a Costco and stuff like that. Anyway, I'm getting to a point here. And then let's just say the number that we walked out was many multiples of that, right? Last time. And it's like, and my wife's working hard, and I'm like, I don't want to, she deserves to, anyway, I don't want to get into it. But so I want her to be happy. Okay. Simple as that. How about that? That's the easiest way to say it. But I'm like, hey, it's probably smart if we set a budget, at some point, so that we kind of go in there. And it's like, it would be like, my dad used to like to go, and he wasn't it was entertainment for him. But occasionally, he'd take my brother and I, Paul, and so we'd go to, Tahoe. We once went to Reno, once went to Vegas, stuff like that. So and he worked really, really hard, and he saved his money and did, all that, very thrifty kind of dude. But he had a little bucket of quarters or nickels or whatever it was, whatever like that. And then my thing is okay, if I go first, I'm not into any of that stuff, but I mean, we set a budget. Like, okay, here's $20, $50, whatever it is, and that's it. Win, lose, draw. You know what I mean? You go to a Costco, you set a budget. Same thing with the country, and you see a lot of the governors are saying that. Like, okay, instead of spending $200 billion here, maybe you spend it on hurricane relief, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like we talked about this on the student loan piece. You know, in full disclosure, I've got a lot of student loans, and so does my wife and stuff like that. But a lot of people on the right would criticize, oh, there's a drift, pay it back. Okay, cool. But were you saying the same thing about PPP? How'd that work out? Were you saying the same thing about bailing out Silicon Valley Bank? Were you saying the same thing about all this other, the COVID, all this other bailout, all this other money that goes out there? And really, it's about setting priorities, right? Whether it's a family, whether it's a state, whether it's a country, whatever it is, there's a budget. And if you spend on this, you're not spending on that. And someone made this say, and then now they're kind of getting, oh, it's not this, it wasn't this, it's FEMA, it wasn't, they didn't pay for that. It's like, dude, the money's fungible, right? There's a certain amount of budget, and everyone wants to get caught in the minutia of did it come? But I mean, you literally had, I believe, you had FEMA talking about that they're paying for. Maybe I'm wrong. If I remember wrong, I mean, but I thought, Paul, I mean, maybe I can't sit here and find every single thing. But I thought that they were out there saying at some point that they were paying for some of the migrant stuff. Am I right or wrong about that? In fact, Speaker Johnson got into, that's exactly what he got into with Christian Welker. And I'm going to try to pull that clip up. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a thing. And look, I mean, that's not the overriding thing about this election.
No.
But it's a little part about it. I mean, so yes, there are concerns about that. Certainly the people of North Carolina and Georgia are thinking about that. It's been an issue of contention. Yeah. I mean, there has been money, I think, of the FEMA pot used for that. And so if you use money over here, you don't have it over there. I mean, that certainly can be the case.
Yeah. And again, nobody's against anybody. It's just it's not about, like you said, that's not the biggest issue, but it's just a metaphor for just overall competency and priorities of this administration and stuff like that. And, it's in like, and now we have this here. I'll put this up here. You've got calls for transparency. This is Fox News on X talking about like this 60-minute thing is not going away, Paul. Calls for critics are calling on CBS News to release the full transcript of Vice President Harris's 60 Minutes interview amid growing accusations of selective editing. I guess there was 2 different versions out there and stuff like that. And really, like, it reminds me, the whole thing with the natural disaster reminds me of East Palestine, Ohio. And we talked about that with the trains, and it took them a while to show up there and stuff. And then were they going to drink the water or not drink but the water's safe and all cut. And again, I'm not alleging anything, but it's a question of priorities. It's a question of people want to know. And again, it's that old saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Right. And it just seems that in a lot of respects, maybe I'm wrong, that the Democratic Party has really become a party of elites, has become a party of the coast. And who is going to represent the Republican Party? The Country Club Republican Party became that, but Trump and certainly Vance, have remade that right into the MAGA Party and the Working People's Party. And Trump's come up with the no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. There was another one that he just dropped. I can't remember what it was. He just dropped another one. And I think it's I don't want to play gotcha with it, but I mean, this messaging is getting through to people of where the priorities are at. So I think that was very important. And I think that this is really sort of cutting through the noise, which is why when Obama came out and did what he did, and I want to find this thing with Speaker Johnson real quick, and I'll turn it over to you while I do that. When this thing with Obama, walk me through that, because I know you've been following that, Paul. Like, what happened there? What's your take on that?
So the thing with Obama is simple, which is that there is a concern that Kamala Harris is not getting enough of certain voting groups, and in particular, in this instance, Black men. And so basically, Obama came out and was talking to a group of people, or a couple people, in Pittsburgh, I think before his speech there, saying something to the effect of how it's not acceptable for black men to vote for Trump or something like that. So that's what this was. And of course, as we said earlier in the show, it drew a massive amount of backlash because one, why are we talking about which group can vote for whom? That number one. And number two, well, why are you telling people how to vote? I mean, where are you coming from? What is your angle and what's your authority to tell people who they can vote for? And that's essentially what a lot of people said is one, I'm going to vote for who I want. And number two, why are you scolding us? Kind of a who are you to tell us type of a thing. And yeah, that's essentially what happened.
Very strange, the whole situation. And like you said, tremendous amount of blowback that he got from that. I'm trying to find the Speaker Johnson thing. I can't find it.
Yeah, it's all good. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we're not really sweating, but it's out there. And he is on his page talking. He does have a clip up of him talking about FEMA stuff on Face the Nation. So again, a lot of people, they go and they do these various shows and out there. So a lot of stuff out there, I think. And then of course you've got the Sunday Morning Futures thing with President Trump. So yeah, I think we're good on that. Let's switch for a second. And I want to come back at the end. We're going to talk about, not too long from now, we're going to try to whip through this very quickly here. We're going to talk about where we're at with the state by state analysis. I think that's very important. But needless to say, whether it's the union workers, right, and whether it's the Border Patrol that just endorsed Trump, you're seeing group after group of that's starting to endorse Trump. You're seeing a big shift. You're seeing a big shift in these various states, Paul, and the huge gender gap and stuff like that. A lot of things are moving out there. It's no doubt about it. And dude, these ads that they're playing for the men for Harris and stuff like that, there's they're not working. They send Tim Walz out there, Governor Walz out there to the hunting thing. That was I don't think that was super successful. So there's a lot of things.
No, it wasn't.
You know what I mean? That aren't working. Meanwhile, let's countervail that with, let me find which clip. There's so many different clips that I want to show here. There was one that was really, okay, hold on. Let me see if I've got one here. Yeah. I mean, there's just the SpaceX, this launch, this thing with Musk was just insane. Okay, here we go. All right. I'm going to show this up here. And there's many different clips of this, many different cuts. I mean, you've got people now that are slamming on Elon Musk. You're talking about, I'm hearing this from other top VCs. I'm like, you're talking about one of the best inventors, just legendary. This guy's like a real life Tony Stark kind of dude, almost. I mean, you know what I mean? Like you're seeing right here, precision of the catch. This is SpaceX catching the Mechazilla thing, catching the rocket again, okay, as it comes back down. Now, that's just a little thing right there. I mean, what we're dealing with now, what Elon Musk has unleashed this week with the various stuff is like science fiction, but it's reality, dude. This is just crazy, okay? I mean, it's unbelievable what he's been doing here. And this is a good one right here. This is from Matt Turk, who's a VC at First Mark Capital. We're gonna show this little thing right here. Put together a little GIF right here. I think it was very effective. Let me see here. Here we go. All right. Look at this. Look at this. So what you've got right here, okay, is you've got the robo van. No, excuse me. That is the cyber taxi. I believe that's right. If I'm getting that right. Robo van right here holds up to 20. Okay. You've got the rocket that takes off and then they're going to catch it. You've got Optimus, which is the robot. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like, dude, this was what they've released just this week. And this dude is all in on Trump. And he basically said, like Elon, when he was talking to Tucker Carlson, that he's afraid that he's going to go to prison if Trump loses. This is the insanity. Do we want stuff like this? Do we want real development? Or do we want to fall behind, other competitors out there around the world and stuff like that? I mean, and look at that. Look at this thing. Paul, how impressive what were the releases in the press events, if you will, the demonstrations, product demos, if you will, from SpaceX and Tesla. And I put up something and you were almost going to repost it. How's that bear case doing for Tesla this week? Okay. Paul, what's your reaction to Elon Musk and all this stuff?
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like stuff that you read about in like science fiction novels.
Incredible.
And now it's becoming reality. And look, nobody else in the world can do this, or certainly nobody else can do the extent of the various things like Elon can do. And as you said, the key to all this is that Elon's all in on Trump. And Elon knows, and as you said, he has mentioned, if Trump does not win, Elon's going to have more problems than he already does. We know that California just said that they don't want to do SpaceX launches anymore. And they mentioned that some of his post on X as being a factor in that. So you have two very clear choices. You have kind of a going towards authoritarian or whatever, thing, or picking winners and losers, or you have the possibility of unleashing this guy to his full potential, which America can kind of harness and go forward with. I mentioned this on Twitter today that RFK Jr. had said that MAGA to him is kind of like a return to when his uncle JFK was in office. And that's what this feels like. This feels like an age of promise and greatness, kind of the age of exploration, the age of unlimited possibility. That's what people want. In fact, one of the people that I know on Twitter said to me today, I feel so optimistic. I haven't felt like this in years. So this is kind of the binary choice we're facing here. We're going to go further down the censorship, kind of quasi-totalitarian path, or are we going to go to greatness and possibility of going to Mars and so forth? And that's kind of what I think a lot of what this election is about.
Well said, no doubt about it. And I almost put up something like, I was talking to, replying to Naval, when he's a huge 2.4 million followers, stuff like that. I mean, obviously a lot, and he is a VC that came out, a big Silicon Valley guy that came out big time for Trump and stuff like that. And you see Mark Andreessen, traditional liberal, a lot of people that are just really.
He's had some good posts recently.
Yeah, he's had some good posts recently. Andreessen, A16Z, buddy. I mean, it's just, and from Andreessen that are really coming out and supporting Trump. And again, I want to thank everyone out there. I'm seeing right now, I think we've got plus 2,209. We got a lot of interaction here. We're seeing a lot of people on Rumble. We're seeing people on Rumble here, YouTube. We got a lot of stuff on X. We definitely appreciate people out there following us here. We're trying to give you, as much good content as we can here and kind of follow all the threads. Let's bring it back. I've got my little note. Go ahead, Paul. You want to say something? Go ahead.
I just want to say something really quickly, just for everybody out there that follows me, is watching this. Go and follow John. He hasn't done as much on Twitter, but he's going to do more. Going to do more of these types of shows. So please go and follow him. He's just trying to build himself up. So please do that.
True story. Absolutely. In fact, and I'm very, very easy to find. I'm at John D. Villarreal, And let me see if I can put that up here on the screen. 1 second. I'm at John D. Villarreal. So very easy to find. Let me see here. 1 second here. Okay. And then I want to come back to my notes and we'll talk through some of that. Okay. So right here at John D. Villarreal, as you can see that here. So very easy to find there. And join it. Join me on X. We're definitely going to do more. Paul's been on me on that, and I'm happy to do it. And this is so much stuff going on. And like I said, we're seeing 211 interactions or something, or I don't know what it is, but a lot. That's good. Again, I'm learning more about X here. So we definitely very much appreciate that. Now, I want to get back to my notes. And when we talked about this, as I framed the show, and we've kind of gone a little bit askew, but in a good way, in depth rather. We talked about state of the race, the polls, the national swing states. Mark Halpern's been out there, and he's been kind of like in his two-way kind of preparing Democrats. Like, it's not looking good. Like, this is about to break in a big way. Yeah. Rasmussen, Rich Bears, the pollsters talking about that. We're talking about Trump winning, the timing and the votes. So I want to ask you a couple of things. We talked about Obama and how that didn't work out, and we can show that, but I don't want to spend too much time on that. We're already almost an hour now. But my question to you, Paul, because there was, you had people like on the Democrat side touting how much money Harris has at this point. This, as I said before, I said this to you off air. It really reminds me, and I'm not trying to be a punk, but of like Jeb Bush campaign, to some extent, the DeSantis primary campaign, and again, love Governor DeSantis, doing a great job as governor, stuff like that. I'm just trying to talk about the campaign. Does money matter at this point in this race? But also just like, how much does money? Of course, money matters, but in the age of podcasting, and Trump being such a celebrity, and Trump and Vance being out there so much, like right now on October 13th, 2024, does money matter in this race as much at this point?
I would say that money matters, but you have to spend it well. And I, as somebody here in a swing state who has seen a ton of ads, I would tell you right now, a lot of the Kamala Harris ads are not good. And now recently they've gotten a little bit better. They focused more on pocketbook issues, like supposedly Trump's tariffs supposedly being essentially a tax raise. That I think is a little bit better than a lot of what they've run. You mentioned the ad earlier about this, whatever, about like the men, the thing targeted about men. That's a bad ad. Many of the ads from Harris herself and from the PAC that is in support of her, I think it's like Forward Faster or whatever it is, those ads are not, they look good, but the tone of them, they're not positioned properly. I don't think that they're well, I don't think they address the audience that they're trying to address. And so that is an example where you're spending tons of money and I don't think you're getting anything out of it. And I know that the numbers haven't moved from the ad base. So yeah, money does matter, but it matters if you spend it the right way. Look, in 2020, this happened with Trump. Brad Parscale, I think, I like Brad, but I don't know if the way that he budgeted their advertising money was done in the right way. I think he spent it in some states where they really didn't have a chance. I think they waited a long time to get up in some states that they could have done better in. So yeah, money is important, but you have to know what you're doing with it and how to spend it wisely.
Well said. And I'm about to say something to my Jason Calacanis here. And I'm about to reply there, and you're gonna like this here. Let me share this here. This is very important. First of all, Sarah Phipps, Trump 2024. Appreciate you, Sarah. Thanks for putting that up there. Thanks for your being here and stuff like that. Let me do something here. Let's see here if I can. Okay, boom. Okay. I want to show this right here. Jason Calacanis just put this up here, and I just responded, about an hour ago. And right here, and this is a very, very good point, right? And I just responded to him. Did Kamala Harris or Joe Biden? Jason Calacanis, big time incubator VC guy, has almost 1 million followers, moderator of All In Pod, one of the besties, very famous Silicon Valley, definitely has been out there and stuff like that. I would say, I don't want to, I'll leave it where it is, and so, and they've been, like I say, very successful. He has his critics. I've got my critics, stuff like that. I think that, in my personal opinion, I think he leans a little bit more left than some of the other best seasons out there and stuff like that. But definitely Jason has done just a lot of stuff. And again, here's the thing. If you're losing Jason Calacanis, you may not be winning this election, okay? That's what if you're a Democrat. And here's what he said, Paul. You can probably see it. Did Kamala Harris or Joe Biden congratulate the SpaceX team today? And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, good question, Jason. Thanks for that, brother. Elon is winning big for quote unquote Team USA, and that should not be political. I mean, Paul, that's a big, what do you think of that from Calacanis? That's a big, big statement there.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think he's right. I think it would have been a good time to kind of to say something to him, because again, a lot of people are excited about what is happening with SpaceX. They're excited with what's happening with the robots in Tesla. But there was a visible like a tangible reaction to what was done with SpaceX today. And so maybe the Democrats don't want to embrace that because Elon is not their
Yeah.
political friend, but it's it's hard to ignore it.
It goes.
I would say that.
I apologize. It goes back to what you were saying potentially about some of the stuff in California. Like, what are we thinking here? Like, dude, listen, there. Netflix went and endorsed Kamala Harris. I believe. Maybe I'm wrong. Like different leaders can endorse different people. It's okay. You know what I mean? Jamie Dimon came out. Yeah. Head of Chase came out for Trump. I mean, different people can endorse different people. That's okay. But this is a win for Team USA. Like, we have to understand that we're all on the same side. And I said this before and something like that. To this other comment about Trump. Look, this is a close election. Kamala Harris can win. If she wins, it's okay. Now, do I think it's a very, very big election? Yeah. But I mean, like, life goes on. Like, we all live together. We're all neighbors, stuff like that. Like, this is what Elon is doing is like Jetson level type of stuff, dude. I mean, like this is like Star Trek, Star Wars. This is like you said, Paul, it's so exciting. If you can call a basketball team or a football team for winning, you can't call Elon on this. Like, who cares that he's supporting Trump? That's really unfortunate, in my opinion. Now, I want to round this out. We've been going for a while. We definitely appreciate. We've been one of our strongest Rumble audiences out there. A lot of people on Twitter continue to engage. We definitely appreciate that. We know it's a little bit after midnight here. Actually, before I get to that, I'll say a couple quick things. Hurricane stuff. Wow. I mean, this state's been hit hard by that. We definitely appreciate Governor DeSantis out there doing some stuff. I'll probably try to pull up something from DeSantis's out there. In fact, I'll do it right now so I don't forget about that, because I do want to give props to the governor for being out there and doing what he's doing, because he's doing a really, really good job on that, in my opinion. And that's the thing, like, again, even for the people on MAGA and stuff like that, like, you got to really love this governor. He's out there. He's doing it. He's a workhorse. And we absolutely definitely appreciate it. And this is someone, I believe he grew up in the Clearwater area. Am I wrong about that, Paul? Someone that
that's the general area.
Yeah, someone that absolutely
Dunedin or something.
Yeah, Dunedin, something like that.
Dunedin, I believe.
Now he's got maybe different posts here, so I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't think so I don't see anything new on his postings and stuff like that here, because he's out there working. He's doing a lot of things. So I've seen a lot of other things out there. I don't know if I can find it, but very quickly for the purpose of this broadcast. But I just saw one of the Trump stuff put a little thing up there. So it was a comparison between Vance and Tim Walz. But if I can find it while Paul's saying something, then I will definitely do that. But yeah, I think, but we definitely, he's out there. He's been out there every day. He's been giving press briefings. He's been around the state. He did come to, the Fort Pierce area and stuff like that. I know he's been in Sarasota. So it's been really, really, tough of what's going on out there. So we definitely wanted to thank the governor on that. Now, I wanted to talk about this before I move to the when we go state by state, we give our little predictions and we'll kind of wrap it up. Paul, you've been listening to a lot of people that are kind of on the inside here. I mean, we've seen some very interesting statements and some timing of statements with President Biden, saying that him and Kamala are really close, that she's been involved in everything and stuff like that. Like, there's been rumors that there's some infighting in the Harris campaign. What do you think? What's your opinion? Speculation, not alleged anything. And what kind of reporting can you do from other people out there of what's going on vis-a-vis the Biden Harris campaign, and what's going on inside the Harris campaign in your personal opinion?
Well, there's definitely a lot of talk, and between people that have inside knowledge, that there's a lot of tension between the Biden camp and the Harris camp. Whether it's these perceived undermining, doing a press conference right after she does an event, these types of things. There is a lot of stuff there. Now, I believe that Jill Biden, and maybe Joe himself, have done or are going to be doing some campaigning recently. So they're managing it if there are tensions going on. But yeah, apparently they are going on. And as far as what's going on within the campaign, I got a couple of people I know. One person I know who has somebody placed in there, who has a friend who works for the Harris campaign. There's a lot of tumult. There's a lot of vibes aren't great. Apparently, people are kind of at each other a little bit, and because things aren't going the way they want them to go. I said what Jason Miller said earlier, which is apparently the Obama people are going to take over more now. Yeah, I mean, it's, failure, failure doesn't have a lot of people that want to claim it, want to blame everybody else. And there's a lot at stake right now. And there's a lot at stake for the people involved in it. And there's a lot at stake for the people throughout the party. And I think you're starting to see the cracks.
It's absolutely interesting, no doubt about it. And I think, Naomi Jenkins, good talking points. Appreciate that. Thank you, Naomi. Thank you for watching. Definitely appreciate that. Want to reply to her real quick. Look, I think a lot of stuff is going on here, and it's, what do they say? I'm gonna get this saying wrong, but like something like failure is lonely and success has 1,000 authors, or something like that. You know what I mean? And you're at a point now where other politicians are going to get pretty nervous. Okay, here we go. So we've got here we go from Rumble. We've got Naomi Jenkins. DeSantis is doing a fantastic job. Totally agree. Thank you, Naomi, for being out there. Thank you, Rumble. No doubt about it. And we are using Rumble Studio. We definitely appreciate that. We also are live on YouTube, Facebook, and X, and maybe LinkedIn. We actually right now at this moment, I believe, have our biggest live audience, which is fantastic. We definitely appreciate everybody hanging out there, and we definitely appreciate all the various platforms, no doubt about it. So thank you, Naomi, for that. Saying that, and she's saying that that basically Obama's time has passed is another comment. I think my rephrasing of what she's saying there. Now, Charlie, I don't know if Charlie is with us here or not with us, but I think he's saying just a pipe dream. Okay, so I don't know. Charlie, maybe you can clarify that a little bit more. So we'll see. So we're getting that's from YouTube. So we're getting comments off YouTube. We're getting comments on Rumble. Let's do this as we wind this down. And Paul and I are obviously going to do some more stuff. And I'm actually in discussions with some other media outlets. I can't say too much yet about doing a live broadcast on election night. And that's something that Paul and I are probably planning on doing anyway, but also might have on broadcast airwaves. And we might be doing that. So like I like to say, I'm nobody. I just know a lot of things. I know a lot of people, but a lot of people know me and a lot of people know Paul. And I think that they've seen that our stuff has been very accurate and we've been following it. So I think we're definitely going to be doing a live broadcast on election. So be ready for that, because that's something that's very, very, we're going to want to do, right? It's a very, very important night. Very important night. Let's get to this. Let's get to the Real Clear Politics map, Paul, and break this down. And I know that, you've been following the polls a lot, and I want to get your take on it. So what we have right here is, at this point, according to RCP, we're seeing Trump and Vance at 219 electoral votes, Harris and Walz at 215 with 104 electoral vote toss-ups. This is RCP's map. Now we can play with this a bit and change some things based upon what we're thinking. And so I'm just going to go state by state, Paul. And I know you, and now we may have our biggest audience right now. We're getting people coming in here. A lot of people on Rumble, a lot of people on YouTube. Definitely appreciate that. I'm seeing, and I don't know exactly, maybe this is total interactions. I'm not quite sure, but we're at 220 interactions or something, or 220 viewers on X. And it just seems to keep going. So that's good. We definitely appreciate that. But let's go state by state here, Paul. You are in the great state of Pennsylvania, 19 electoral votes. How do you think that's going to go on election night?
Well, here it's going to take time, because the reason why it's going to take time to know what happened is because Pennsylvania does not start counting mail-in ballots until the day of the election. So there's no there's no counting before that. That's why it takes so long for things to be done here. I think that it's going to be extremely difficult for Kamala Harris to win here. She is going to need a very, very strong election day turnout in order to have a chance here. And right now, look, it's not impossible, but just given history of turnouts in 20 and 22, I think it's going to be difficult. And I don't sense a dramatic amount of enthusiasm for her. Now, as we said off air, the truth is, for the Democrats, they only have to worry about turning out people in 5 or 6 counties. So that makes it a little easier for them. However, right now, excuse me, I think that it's going to be, there's going to be such a shortfall of absentee ballots for the Democrats in Pennsylvania compared to 2020. It's going to be much harder for her structurally to be able to do it. And so again, the Democrats are used to getting more early vote and then not having to worry about turnout on election day nearly as much. That is not going to be the case this time. Yes, they will be ahead on election day, but not nearly as much. I think it's going to be an uphill battle for her. I really do. It's not impossible, but I don't think it looks good right now for her.
Okay, so what I've done right here now, and I may have this a little bit wrong, I may make my own map here on Real Clear Politics. I've got 219 for Trump and Vance, 211 for Harris Waltz, and that may not be exactly accurate, but I'm trying to somewhat mimic what we see out there so I can manipulate this. But first, before I do that, we've got some of these key numbers here that I think are really important to show here. President Biden job approval is underwater by almost 15 points. Now, I don't think that's super important, obviously important, because it's Harris now, not Biden, but obviously there's clearly a connection there. But I think this is the key, number right here. Right track, wrong track by minus almost 33. Okay, you're underwater, right track, wrong track. That is a big thing, and this has always been a big indicator, on election. Now, allegedly, you have Harris up a 1.7 in the average of polls on our RCP, but 0.1.7. But remember, like at this time, if we can go to the polls later, this time, 8 years ago, the Democrats had a much bigger lead there, and both those elections were very, very close. Now, I think this is the telltale sign that calling polls top battlegrounds. And the battlegrounds, you've got Trump with an edge, and Trump has always overperformed his polls. Okay, they have not been able to successfully poll the Trump voter. But if we go with Paul said here, Pennsylvania, let's go, leans Republican. Now that's put Trump and Vance at 238. Okay, they need 270 to win. North Carolina, what's your feeling on that, Paul?
I think that North Carolina, I think that the Kamala Harris team believes that may be an opportunity for them. I think that she's campaigning there. She was there today, I believe. I think she's spending a good amount of time there. He sent Bill Clinton down to North Carolina and to Georgia, where they are. I'm not sure if he's been there already. Now, again, a lot of that is because early voting starts this week. But I do believe that they think there's an opportunity there. I think they're getting a little less optimistic about Pennsylvania. And so now they're coming back down to Georgia and North Carolina, those two Sunbelt states. And again, you add into that the factor of some of the Western North Carolina Trump voters may be a little bit harder for them to vote. So they might think there's even more opportunity. As I said, we're going to know much more about that after this week. When we see the first couple of days of in-person early voting, things will get a lot clearer about that. And again, she must pull significant numbers there, or I don't think she's going to have any chance at all. But maybe she can do it. We will see.
All right, we will leave that as a toss-up. Comment here from YouTube. Curious Cat. It won't be good if Trump wins. Why would anyone vote for him? Thank you for the comments, Curious Cat. Well, we definitely disagree with you, but we appreciate you being out there, and we were looking for good comments. Remember, obviously, keep it respectable and everything like that. So we're going to leave North Carolina as a toss-up for now. Arizona looks like it's going a lot more Republican. Are you confident about Arizona for Trump at this point?
Yeah, I believe that I personally am. We know our friend, Larry Schweikert, professor emeritus. He is in Arizona. He's been tracking the numbers, the registration numbers. He feels very good about it. I believe that one of the recent stronger polls had Trump up 5, or might have been his own internals. Now, I think the Wall Street Journal poll may have had him down in Arizona, but I personally think that Trump is in pretty good position in Arizona.
Okay.
I do think that. So that's my own feeling about it. Yeah.
With Arizona, it's 11 electoral votes. That puts us excuse me. Sorry. That puts Trump Vance at 249. Okay. The Republicans. Georgia's another big one, 16 electoral votes, which, I mean, there had been some kerfuffles before last election, in my opinion, between Governor Kemp and Trump. That seems to be over with now. I think that things are more solidified there. What's your feeling about Georgia?
Like I said, we're going to know a lot more about that when we start seeing what the in-person early voting looks like. I personally think Georgia's in a pretty good place for Trump.
Do you feel better about Georgia, or do you feel better about North Carolina?
I right now I feel better about Georgia.
Okay.
And I think that if they are able to maintain the new election rules in terms of like syncing up day-to-day ballots with the votes, that's going to make it even better for Republicans. Now, there's a lawsuit about that, so we have to see how that goes. But I think if you made me pick between one of those two states, I would I feel better about Georgia than North Carolina right now today.
If Georgia comes, go ahead. I was going to say real quick, if Georgia comes through for the Republicans, that would then put Trump Vance at 265. So really, any other significant state, barring or combination of New Hampshire, Nebraska, one puts them at 270. So if Trump and Vance can get Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Georgia, that puts them very much in the driver's seat, particularly because Virginia may be closer than people think. We'll come back to that in a second. Do you see it that way, Paul?
Yeah. Look, I think that there's a feeling that the best Sun Belt states for her, probably in order, are Nevada,
yes,
maybe North Carolina, and then after that, Georgia. So they're making a play. They are attempting to do what they can with North Carolina and Georgia. So I give them credit, and they're putting a focus on that. I think it's going to be tough. As I said, we're going to know a lot more after this week.
How do you feel about? So let me ask you this: how do you feel about Nebraska 2 and New Hampshire?
I think that I think both of those are going to be a little bit difficult for Trump. Nebraska too. I mean, it has moved, but there's still, that still tends to be, liberal. I mean, certainly, obviously, it's the most liberal part of Nebraska, as far as I understand. So I wouldn't rely on that. New Hampshire, Barris was talking about that. The pollster was talking something about that, and just basically saying, look, that's, even though you would think it would be gettable for Trump, it's like the people there, and I cannot remember the reasoning for what he said, was that it's not quite the electorate that's best suited to him, essentially. And so I haven't really thought about it a whole bunch in terms of thinking that, that's a possibility. I mean, look, it could be, but I'm not sure about that.
Let's move to Virginia. Virginia has been very close lately. And, Governor Youngkin there has done things to tighten up, like the voter ID stuff, also clean up the voter rolls in the legislature. There's been some different movement on that. Do you think Virginia, do you see it as a Democrat state right now? Do you see it as a toss-up? Where would you put Virginia?
I think Virginia is a state that is still leaning or more towards the Democrats, but it is moving to the right. But will it move enough for it to be, can it move enough for Trump to win right now? Can it move enough for Hung Kao to win right now? I don't know about that.
Oh, he
I
did
know
great.
people
Oh
that are
my
in-
gosh, he did great in his
Yeah.
debate.
He's great. I love that
I'm
guy.
actually good. Yeah, he's great. I'm actually going to be bold enough to put that as a toss up. And the reason I say that is I think like what you said, I think Virginia, Nevada, New Hampshire, Nebraska too. Those are one, like if Trump has a big wave, if it's a blowout, then he gets those ones.
Right.
Those are like the last ones to get that. But I think that Virginia, Nevada's kind of a toss up leaning Democrat. I think Virginia's right on that cusp. But with the momentum going Trump, I'm comfortable enough to put it as a toss up based upon the direction that things are going. If an election were held today, probably leans Democrat. But I think that there's enough movement there where I think it is a toss up, based upon if they are underpolling Trump. That's what Democrats have to be worried about. If the Trump voter is still a shy Trump voter because you're trying to shame them, and if these voter integrity things or whatever you want to call them, the clean up the voter rolls, that can have an impact. So there's definitely some maneuvering going on here. Then let's go.
Let me just say this, Tony. You pretty much said it, but I'll just my own 2 cents on this. If things start to break hard to Trump, if you start to see a collapse with Trump, then yes, I think the things that you will start to see in play at that period of time would be, as you said, Virginia, New Hampshire, Minnesota, and even potentially New Mexico. And the reason why I mentioned New Mexico is because of the Latino vote. Trump is doing well with Latinos. If that cascades, if you get a break, then you might even start seeing that a little bit in play. Now, you'd have to get a considerable move. But if things start turning, those are like the 4 states, I think. And I would say throw in Nebraska too with that. That's where I think you would see it. And look, we're already seeing movement in Virginia. That's why people are even looking at Virginia. And as we know, the DOJ just sued Virginia. And to a lot of people, that for them basically cleaning the roles of undocumented of migrants there, that to a lot of people signals they think it's in play. So the signs are there. But I know people that are in Virginia right now, and they're like, "Man, you cannot believe how many Trump signs are here." But they still believe that if everything went down today, Trump would not win the state, but it'd be close.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm going to come to Michigan, but we'll go there last. Minnesota and Wisconsin. Obviously, you got Governor Walz that comes from Minnesota. What are we thinking about those 2 states?
I think Minnesota is something that is closer than people believe it to be, based upon some of the internal polling that I've heard about. Look, I still think it's going to be hard again, but if things break, then there's a possibility for Trump. For right now, today, no, Trump's not going to win it.
Which state is easier
Wisconsin,
for Trump? I'm sorry, let me ask you this. Which state is easier for Trump and Vance to get, you think, Minnesota or Virginia?
That's a really good question. Man,
Right? I know.
I'm not sure. That's a really good question. I probably, I don't know. I honestly don't know enough to say that. I think it's probably relatively close. I don't know enough about those 2 states to really make a call on that.
Do you feel like Governor Walz, what's the level of coattails that he has in Minnesota, you think?
I don't think the coattails are that great. I think that in fact, the polling that suggests that him coming on the ticket hurt her in Minnesota.
Wow. So,
that gives you some sense of whatever coattails or whatever, or negative coattails from him. So, look, the thing with Minnesota, of course, Minnesota is a liberal bastion and in some respects and all, but it's a Midwestern state. So you do have a number of rural people. You do have people that are kind of the same or similar people to other Midwestern states. So if you're seeing a bunch of, if you're seeing a big Trump movement throughout the Midwest, you're going to get some of that in Minnesota as well.
Mm. I'm gonna. Oh, that's a close one. I'm gonna put this lean Democrat just for. I don't know. Dude. It's a close one, dude. I think that's a close one. My gut tells me that it's going to be easier for Trump to get Virginia than Minnesota, and even though that's maybe counterintuitive. You have the governor situation there, Republican governor here, Governor Walz over here. I don't know.
That's true. Well, and that's it with the ballot, with what Youngkin did with the balloting, the paper balloting in Virginia. That might make it easier just by itself.
Just tough. Wisconsin.
Well, look, I think I think Wisconsin is doable for Trump. And I know, as Barris has mentioned numerous times, usually, or has been the case historically, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania vote together.
Right, Rust Belt.
As we know, they all went to they all went to Biden 2020. They all went to Trump 2016.
Yeah.
So those states you tend to vote together.
Yeah.
Now the margins are small, so they could break up. I think Wisconsin is, of course, there's liberal areas there like Madison, Milwaukee, but I definitely think it's within Trump's grasp. I definitely think it is a very real possibility for him to win that state.
So let's talk about Michigan. Michigan got a lot of different things going on there. You've got the union stuff, the Teamsters, came out there and didn't endorse it, but the rank and file union people are really backing Trump. Trump's been there a lot. You've got James out there, you've got a lot of different people that are doing, some stuff. You also have uncommitted out there. Okay. You also have the endorsement from the one of the major mayors out there for Trump.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things happening in Michigan. I don't know. You've got Governor Whitmer. Governor Whitmer just did that thing that there's a lot of blowback on. Let me rephrase that. Do you think of those three, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, do you think Michigan is the one that is more winnable for Trump and Vance?
If I personally had to pick one of those three states, I would probably pick Wisconsin.
Okay.
But I will tell you this, because of what you've said, there has been movement towards Trump in Michigan. There is definitely movement towards Trump between the Arab population, the uncommitted, because there is a significant minority population there, and those voters are moving more than previous times towards Trump. That helps Trump. The auto workers, they're moving towards Trump. There's been a real shift there. And look, the one thing I will say about that is that apparently that is the single state where there has been some promising early voting trends for Harris. That's the only battleground state where it looks like, hey, maybe this is a little bit better than we thought it was going to be. So that has to be taken into consideration. But I do know that both campaigns are aware or believe that Michigan is moving towards Trump right now. And who knows where that's going to end up. I think it's looking much more attainable for Trump than it did maybe a few weeks ago.
I agree with that. So let's shape this up a little bit right here.
You know what, we got still the other one, the state that we could mention is Nevada.
Now Nevada. Not for the puns here, but I mean, a lot of ways, I feel like Nevada's fool's gold, and I mean, I know, some way, it looks good, and somehow comes in Democrat a lot of times. I definitely believe don't get me wrong, I believe it's winnable. But if I had to just, my gut right now, maybe I'm wrong in it, but my gut, my political expert gut tells me this is what I'm coming up with. You tell me if I'm crazy in this. I've got Trump fans at 265. I got Harris Walls at 219. I got 54 toss-ups. I'm putting Nevada as leading Democrat. I'm putting Minnesota as leading Democrat. I think Virginia's closer than people think. I'm putting that as a toss-up. North Carolina as a toss-up. I kind of want to put leading Republican, but there's so much disruption in North Carolina. Who knows what's going on? You know what I mean? Like when it comes to ballots and election day, and can people actually vote? And there's a lot of stuff going on. And our thoughts and prayers go out with everyone. I've got Michigan as a toss up. So I think that's what I think it's going to come down. I think PA is going to go Republican. Georgia's going to go Republican. Arizona's going to go Republican. I think it's going to come down to Wisconsin, Michigan, Virginia, North Carolina. I think they need one of those states being Trump fans. I think they win the whole thing. I think if it all breaks to the Democrats, then I think, it's going to be Harris Walls. But I think that this feels relatively accurate to me, that basically Trump and Vance haven't won it yet, but they are in their driver's seat. They are in control. And really any of those 4 states that Harris Walls has to defend everything. Now, if it's a blowout, does Minnesota go to red, and Nevada? Sure. So could New Hampshire, so could New England too. So, I mean, this could easily, we could be looking at this on election night. I mean, we could easily be looking at this. I'm changing the map right now, Paul, just if you're not watching real time. I mean, we could easily be looking at 301 electoral votes. It could go farther than that. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I think, if you get that, going into play, it could get maybe Colorado gets in play. I don't know, but that's pretty much what you're looking at there. I mean, I don't think it gets even any farther than that. At 311, I mean, you've seen different than that. I don't think so. I think right now, go ahead.
I'll just say this. Barris said that, look, he's like, even though the polling hasn't been necessarily great for Trump in Nevada, I mean, great meaning that, obviously it's close. He said that the culinary union is saying, look, forget about the polls. If you had the election right now, Trump would win.
Yeah.
That means a lot.
Okay.
Because those guys know what they're talking about.
So let me change that. Let me change that.
Definitely, I think it's in there.
I'm sorry. I made a mistake in how I was doing it, and I wasn't counting these other ones. Super blowout. Trump sweeps all those things. Gets even Colorado 350 to 188. That's super blowout.
Yeah, I don't know about.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I'm not
I don't
sure
think that's
about
going to
that.
happen.
Yeah.
The way I look at it right now, and I'll go back to where I was, and this is what I kind of feel more comfortable about. Is okay, hold on. And then we go boom. Oh, okay. Let me double check. Yeah. 219 Harris Walls, 265 Trump fans, Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania going to Republicans, Minnesota, Nevada going to Democrats. But based upon what you're saying with Barris, I'll put Nevada as a true toss-up then. We'll put that as a true toss-up. But that's been fool's gold before. Polls look good. Polls look close. Come election time, it breaks Democrat. But okay, look, out of deference to Bears, we'll put it as a true toss-up. 213 Harris Wall, 265 Trump fans. So what that does mean then is Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, Virginia, North Carolina, they win. Trump Vance wins any one of those. They win the White House. Paul, your comments.
Look, I think that there's a very real possibility that Trump wins all 7 of the true battlegrounds, the 3 Rust Belt states and the 4 Sun Belt states. So I think that is a realistic thing. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it could happen. And it could happen without dramatic changes. So I think that that's a real possibility. I can't know what that number is, 311, 312. But of course, we're not there right now. I mean, but that could happen. I mean, I think that is the clearest win without other satellite states like Virginia or Minnesota or New Mexico going anywhere. I think that's definitely within the realm of possibility. And I mean, some people might say it's the most likeliest outcome right now. The reason with Nevada, just to go back to that very quickly, is look, heavy Latino population, and the no taxes on tips works there.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of service workers, and that they want that.
Yeah.
And so, and there's been registration shifts. most of these states have moved to the right since 2020.
Well,
That
and,
matters. It matters at the margins.
and also
Of course, as you said, everybody knows Nevada's fool's gold or has been,
yeah,
and it might be again.
yeah.
But it's if the culinary union is saying that, then you got to listen to it.
There's no doubt about it. And also going back to Michigan, no tax on overtime. So that's a big thing for union workers, right?
Yeah,
And
it's a very big
it's a
thing.
very big thing and stuff like that. So, especially some people that have, been first responders and responding to some of these, emergencies and different things like that. Okay. So this is what I'm got as we close up the show here. We appreciate everyone. We've had a really strong audience, for us, and the people have really hung in there. And hopefully we appreciate everyone's retweeting this out here. It's went a lot longer than I thought, but there's a lot of great information from Paul and myself. And obviously we like the interaction. Hold on. Okay. We've got something here from. Yeah. So, Ruin Nation has some, I'm not going to put it up, but it definitely has some comments out there. And again, I don't have control of some of the comments here that I would on some of the other stuff. So I cannot control, okay. So I'm not going to put that up there, but different people are concerned out there, Paul. People are concerned about, different things. And so I'm going to leave it there. Anyway, my read right now tonight is 213 Democrats, 265 Trump Vance, 60 toss-up states, 60 electoral votes. So I think that the states that are really in play the most, Virginia, North Carolina, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, Virginia, the least of those as a toss-up. But you could be surprised, man. You could be surprised of what can happen there. So again, you've got a sitting Republican governor, so it's not like they can't elect Republicans there. So we'll see. And that, remember that race, right? I remember let me leave with this. That was a situation where Governor Youngkin, coming out of the whole pandemic stuff, really slammed Terry McAuliffe, who is a big name Democrat, involved the Clinton years and all that type of stuff. And I think McAuliffe, I felt like maybe had some confidence in that race, maybe overconfidence in that race. But what Governor Youngkin did was really, you had a lot of parents that were going to these school boards and saying, hey, wait a minute, I don't like, some of the stuff. And Governor Youngkin really hammered that issue for parents' rights and stuff, or however you want to frame that. And that resonated. Maybe not unlike today, Paul, where you've got Fairfax and you've got Arlington, you've got these counties that are right out in the DC zone. A lot of federal workers there, but you also have people that are like right track, wrong track. We don't like where things are going. We don't like what's going on with this economy. We don't like the attacks on freedom of speech and all stuff like that. So I think these are the issues that Trump and Vance are picking up. So at some point, there's competency becomes the issue. And on the issues that voters care most about, economy, immigration, different things like that, Trump and Vance have a big lead. So I just feel like Virginia, and again, with the voter integrity stuff that Governor Youngkin's doing, Virginia may be more in play than you think that it is, and it neighbors North Carolina. So it's going to be very interesting. I am comfortable with where this is right here. I think this is my best guess on it right now, which is to say that Trump and Vance have so many different ways to win, and the window, the opportunity for Harris and Walz to win has narrowed considerably, and the momentum is with Trump and Vance. Any last comments that you have?
Yeah, look, like I said, we're obviously much rather be Trump right now than Harris. I don't know there's any question about that. Trump had the momentum. We're going to know a lot more after this week. And, if you're Trump and Vance, you just want to keep going. Just keep rolling, keep doing what you're doing. It's working. Foot on the gas pedal and keep moving.
That's it. I agree. So listen, great night. We appreciate everyone out there. Definitely appreciate all the comments and stuff like that, and the respectful ones, and definitely and can't control everything out there. And definitely appreciate all the people retweeting stuff and the interactions on X. Thank you, Paul, for joining us. We will be doing more, as I said, as a little foreshadowing. I'm going to talk about this week, but I may be doing a deal with the broad or doing some kind of situation with a broadcast entity. We plan on going live on election night, and we'll definitely be doing more since then. And thank you to Rumble Studio, X, YouTube, Facebook, the various platforms that we are on. We appreciate that. Appreciate you out there. So that's what we're seeing right now. Interesting night. We got about a little over 3 weeks to go, so we'll see. So for Paul, I'm John D. Villarreal. Thanks so much for watching. We will see you next time. Have a wonderful rest of your evening and a great week.